Who would like to read Presidents 31 to 35 by just saying basically a list of names?
Hurry quick. Anybody volunteer?
I can.
Okay.
All right, Lily, well done. 1, 2, 3, go.
Herbert,
Hoover.
yeah, was 31.
Say his name.
Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover was 31. In the Great Depression, our country was bent. Who knows the years of the Great Depression, basically?
Franklin.
Oh, wait, I didn't
Wait,
say go.
he's asking
Stop.
a question, baby.
Stop. I'm asking everyone a question. Lots of questions in this one. What years were the Great Depression?
Right after World War I, so like early 30s.
World War I ended in the early 1919 into 20. So we zipped through. What was the precipitating event of the Great Depression? And it wasn't an actual explosion. Something crashed.
The stock market.
The stock market. And it was not a 5-year-old going to buy a Lamborghini. Did y'all hear that story about the police in Utah pulled over a kid? He's 5. He's driving to get a Lamborghini. Nice.
I saw
So
that.
anyway, we don't have that here in Kentucky. It'd be a Corvette. So anyway, yes, the stock market crashed in 29 because they had zero things in place like we do now to do anything but make everyone broke, and people just go bankrupt, and they had all their money locked in. No one thought to save anything else. So it started the Great Depression, 25% unemployment, it all the way up through 36, 37. And then what brought us out of the Depression? Here's a clue. Sorry, not in the camera. That's a letter. That's a letter. That's a number.
332.
No, that's a letter.
World War II.
World War II. Thank you. World War II. World War II. Wars have a tendency to get you out of depressions because you've got to make and spend a lot of money to fight a war. Very good. Okay, go ahead, Lily. Read the next one.
Franklin di Liavono. How do you say that?
Delano.
Okay. Delano Roosevelt was 32.
Corella DeVille. Only 3-term president. Yes, and the last. And he could have been a 4-term president. Then after that, they made the decision, let's make it 8 is all. Go.
Henry S. Tishman was 33.
Henry S. Tishman? What? What do you see there?
I don't know how to...
Truman.
Okay. Henry S.
Harry?
I can't speak. You want someone else to go?
Harry S. Truman.
Okay.
He helped end a world war. We'll get through it. So he helped end World War II by devastating Japan. Okay, try the next one. It's going to be fun.
Dwight.
Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower.
Oh, let them struggle first, Miss Fraser. Dwight D. Eisenhower. The country liked Ike by the score. And this is, in politics, rarely do facts and sense have much to do with it. It's all about the slogan. Whoever's slogan is the best. Okay, next one you gotta know.
John F. Kennedy was 35.
He asked, what would you do? What did he mean when he said, what did you do? Who knows? What did he mean? Does anyone know? Don't ask what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Meaning he was the last president who wasn't out there just promising to hand everybody everything. He was saying, you have a stake here in this country. You need to work too for us, and not just at your job. You need to work for the country. Okay, next.
Lincoln. Yeah.
Lincoln?
No.
Lyndon?
Yeah, that word. Lyndon Johnson was 36.
And then Lyndon Johnson, just the opposite, said, a great society, here's everything. Next.
Richard Nixon was 37.
He announced, "I am not a crook." And does anyone know why he said that? Anyone? Bueller?
Was he like the Watergate thing?
He was the Watergate thing, yeah. So, and if you don't know what the Watergate thing is, the Republican, here's stumping for your party. They broke into the Democratic offices at the Watergate Hotel, stole a bunch of stuff, and Nixon was actually involved. So he then quit. But when he said, "I am not a crook," one thing he wanted to say was that, look, don't define me by this, even though he is. I have done a lot of good things for this country, and he had done some stuff that really had helped the country. He also did a lot of creepy stuff too, but as far as kind of shady. But he wanted people to say, not look at him as a crook. Didn't work. Next. Gerald.
Yeah. Ford was 39 or 38.
38. He let Nixon off the hook. What does that mean?
He gave him a pardon.
That's right. He pardoned Richard Nixon, and it probably cost him the election. Gerald Ford never actually elected to any office past the Senate. Everything else was given to him. Next.
Jeremy Carter was 30.
Jeremy, really?
It says Jeremy.
No, it's Jimmy.
Jimmy Carter.
Oh. Jimmy Carter was 39.
From peanut farmer to the West Wing. Up until this election, all presidents in the past put everything they owned into a blind trust. So they didn't want a conflict of interest with their business, so they put it in a blind trust. Okay, next.
Ronald Reagan was 40.
Fighting the Cold War was his thing. What's the Cold War, everyone? Anyone know? Who did we fight it against?
The USSR.
The USSR, back in the USSR. So we fought it against them. And was there any fighting involved?
No.
No. What was the Cold War really about?
Like technology and advancement and stuff.
Spending money on weapons, exactly. Whoever could spend the most wins. Here's the tip. We won. We had the most to spend. The United States spends 10 times more on its military than all 10 of the next countries put together. That's how much. And Ronald Reagan knew that we were a lot bigger and we had a lot more than Russia, because after World War II, we split up the world. We took half the countries on the other side. Russia took the other half, and we let ours go and had them fixed, and Russia decided to run them as communist countries. Well, you can't do that, even though you're stripping them of resources, because they need money, and they started to go broke. And then Ronald Reagan said, here, we've got Star Wars now, which was not true, but they were scared, and we spent a bunch of money, and they were broke. And I told everybody this, in 1989, in November, the Berlin Wall came down, and I called my brother, and I said, we're going to Berlin. So on New Year's Eve, if you can see this, I was standing on top of the Berlin Wall with 3 million other folks cheering and laughing and running away from M80s, because in Germany on New Year's, they light quarter sticks of dynamite and throw them into the crowd. Scary, but it was scary. So you would hear fizz, fizz, and you run. So anyway, I've got pictures of me on top of the wall, and we thought it was an amazing thing, and it was. Okay, good. Next.
George H.W. Bush was 41.
He said, read my lips, not gonna do it. You read my lips. What did he say after read my lips? Anyone?
No new taxes?
No new taxes. And were there no new taxes?
No.
No, there were new taxes. And he lost. Ross Perot also didn't help. Okay, next.
Bill Clinton was 42.
He balanced the budget but had a few blips. One thing I mentioned about Bill Clinton is he did actually balance the budget, but in the first time in history that we started to look into someone's personal life and make it a factor in the presidency. Other presidents had done kind of things, but we didn't look as much. Bill Clinton was just a huge another thing. Ugh, let's not even talk about it. Next.
George W. Bush was 43.
Stood tall after 9/11. You know, before you were born, we had 9/11. You hear about it all the time, and it doesn't feel to you like it feels to us. In the same way that when I was in high school, they used to talk about the Kennedy assassination. And my grandmother was in the room one time, and we had the same day. And the teacher and my grandmother and all the other grandmothers, they talked about it, and they were so saddened by it. They knew the exact place they were when they heard the country as a whole. And I couldn't understand it. Okay, sad, guy's dead, I'm sorry. But not until 9/11 did I understand this true national sadness, which I totally understand. Like my daughter just graduated from high school, and the fact that she didn't get to spend her last part of her senior year, she goes to Gatton, by the way. Do you all know the Gatton Academy at Western Kentucky? She did not get to spend the last 2 months at the dorm at Gatton with all her friends studying at the university. And it's the worst thing that's ever happened to her life. She feels this great weight. And people are like, well, it's not like it's 9/11. Well, you know what? It still hurts a whole bunch. So I'm just saying that 9/11 for the country, and George Bush, no matter what anybody thought of him, he was there and he held the country together. Thank you. Next.
Barack Obama, yeah, was 44.
The first to get health care done. You know, Barack Obama, what's interesting about that is people have tried to do some sort of health care forever, and to get that done was a Herculean task. Whether you like it or not, it was a huge task. Next.
This poem ends.
As an election year begins,
The electoral college will decide
the candidate who wins. Obviously, this poem was written just before the last election. We know Donald Trump won, and now we will see how that happens. And we know the electoral college decided. Wow!